On July 23rd, 2020, Korg released this, the NTS1. And then, on October 5th, 2020, they also released the Logue-SDK, a software development kit that allowed you to make your own effects and oscillators for this and other Logue devices. So naturally, 4 years later, I want to show you how to get your system all set up to do it yourself. And yes, I'm doing it on Linux because Microsoft and Apple freaking stink. Outside of those reasons, I chose Linux because it's free and open source. And everything I do on this channel, I want to also be free and open source. Music is for everybody and should be accessible to everybody. So if you have to pay additional money for an operating system, then that's a barrier to entry. And I don't like barriers to entry, especially when it comes to music, because music is for everybody. I literally just said that. If you don't have Linux and you don't have any interest in using Linux, then you can still accomplish this on your own. I've linked other methods on my website and in the description to do this on Windows. If you're on Mac, you might have to do your own research on getting this set up. If you're curious about Linux, this is a great opportunity to break into it. The whole Linux ecosystem is real mature these days, and you can find a free open source replacement for just about anything. In an era of subscription fees and planned obsolescence and just the enshittification of the internet et al., this is the time to move to Linux. This is the time to familiarize yourself with it. And if there was ever a project to get you into it, I think it should be this. I mean, if you're here, you're interested in doing this, right? I mean, you wouldn't have made it this far. Okay. I've opened up my terminal, and now the first thing I want to do is I want to make a directory that's going to house all this code. And now I want to move into that directory. Okay, so now that I'm into the directory, I want to grab the Logue-SDK repository from GitHub. So the first thing I have to do is make sure I have Git installed. I do have Git installed. If you don't have Git installed, you're going to need to install it. I'll need some additional pieces of software too, so I'm going to make sure I have them all installed now. First, I got to make sure I have tar to unzip it. Cool. Now I need the other unzip, bzip too. Excellent. And finally, I need make, which is a pretty big deal. Right on. I'm rocking in the free world. Okay. So I've made sure I've got everything installed, so now I'm ready to grab that repository. Cool. Done. Easy. So we got the repository, so let's move into the directory. And now what I have to do is I got to grab all the other repositories that exist inside of this repository. So I'll do that now. Git submodule, oops, update and initialize it. Now it's going to grab all this other stuff. Right on. Up next, I need to install some compilers. Now, in the Logue-SDK repository, it does officially have some compilers, but in my experience, it doesn't always seem to work. So I'm just going to grab the compilers on their own and install them. Now I'll have to use this. I'll have to do this as a super user. Non-EBIEA. There it is. Okay, so I did already have it installed, so that's why I didn't do anything, but in your case, it'll do a bunch of installing. Just make sure everything works. I'm also going to install the provided compilers. And what's cool is they already provided a script to do this, so I'm just gonna go run that script. So first, I need to go find the script. Okay, and they actually provide all the scripts for all the operating systems. So if you're on a different system like Windows or Mac, you can run these scripts. But for me, I am just going to run the GCC 5.4.2016 because it's all I need to get the NTS1 Mark 1 working. So if you need the other one, you can go ahead and install it here, but it's just a script essentially. So cool. All right. We are getting really close. Okay, so now that I think I have almost everything installed, now I want to grab my reverse echo effect and see if I can successfully make it. So let's do that now. First, I got to move out of here and move into the correct folders. So I'm going to move up a couple folders, and now I'm in the root folder. And now I will move into the platform folder and then new tech digital. And here is where all the NTS1 Mark 1 effects and oscillators are. See, they provide the dummy mod effects and all this jazz to help you get started. So we know we're in the right area. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that repository from Git. Cool. So now it brought that repository into the Logue-SDK repository. And now we move into it. So now we're in it. And now the moment of truth, we're gonna see if we can make it. We did it. Wow, that was easy. But we know we did it because one, it spits out all this compiler information, but at the bottom here, how it says creating build reverse echo.list and then packaging to reverse echo.ntk.pig unit, that file right there is the effect. And to use it, essentially, you move that file onto your NTS1. Okay, so now all we need to do is install the Logue-SDK command line interface. And because we are on Linux, we have to do this because there is no app provided by Korg for Linux. But it's cool because I wrote a script that allows you to quickly and easily transfer your made packages onto your NTS1. I'll show you how to use that at the end, but it's actually easier this way in the long term. I used the Windows app when I first started doing this, and it was kind of a hassle because you had to open it up and make sure that it sees the device on the USB and hit some buttons with your mouse and everything, and it was real slow. But because we are on Linux, we can automate a lot of that stuff. So first things first, we're going to get it installed. So I'm going to move up some directories first because they provided the install script. So I want to move up to log platform. Oop, move up one more. All right, now I want to move into the tools. And we can see they've got that Logue-CLI folder. So we will move into it. And what's really nice, they provided that script. So we can look at that. We can see, got the script right there. So now I will just run it for Linux. Oh, there it is, all done. So it's ready to rock. And now we can see that it created a folder. So I'm going to move into that folder. Now we're in the folder, got a bunch of stuff. And the thing we're actually going to run is that last item, the Logue-CLI. But if you noticed on the far left, it's got the -rw-r-r-r. In Linux, what that means is it's basically the way for Linux to understand what the file is and who has permissions to it. And in this case, it doesn't see it as an application yet. So we have to change it to an application. So to change it to an application, we're going to do chmod. We're going to +x, which will make it an executable. And then we will do the Logue-CLI. And now we notice that it's got a little X and it's green for us. So we know that it's now an application. So to see if it works, all we got to do is run it, essentially. Oop. And we will do -h, so it pulls back the help. Bam. That's how we know we've got it working. And now I've got, oh, my NTS turned off. And now that I already have my NTS hooked up, what I can do is probe it. And I can see that, oh, I got a bunch of other stuff. I can see that it sees it on the MIDI inputs and the MIDI outputs on in one and out one. So we're ready to rock. Cool. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to use the task file that I've included in all my repositories to quickly and easily transfer your made file onto your NTS1. So as you're developing, you just run a command and it'll already load for you. Real easy, real cool. All right. So now first thing I want to do is make sure I have task installed. I'm going to say task version. Cool. I have task installed, and now I can do task probe, and this is going to check all my MIDI devices like we did earlier. Cool. So now I see that my NTS is on in 1 and out 1. So now all I got to do is update my task file, and then I can start using it. Okay, I'm now in Visual Studio Code, and I'm in the reverse echo directory in the repository, and I'm in the task file. So now all I have to do is change the MIDI slot in and the MIDI slot out to 1, because that's what it is for me. I can change this other stuff, but I shouldn't have to. It should already, well, okay. You can change the FX slot too, because your device has a bunch of slots, and you can choose which slot to move your effect into. But in this case, I'm going to leave it as 1, but you might want to change it on yours as you see fit. And here are all the commands and whatnot. But so now I can, let's go back to the terminal. Now I can do something like task show, and it will spit out all my effects that I have in my delay effects. So here are the ones that I have. So actually, I think I want to move it to, no, I guess 1 is fine. Slot 1 for me is fine. So yeah, so now let's say I made some changes in the code, and now I want to move it into the NTS1. I can just type task make, and boom, done. It's in the NTS1. I guess that's not really, you'll have to trust me on this because it was already in there. But yeah, but that's really all it takes. And now you're ready to go. You can make changes into your stuff and easily move it over. The command line interface makes it real easy, and having the task file makes it even easier. So yeah, so because all of this software is free and available to you, you can do this now. You can do this for free, and I'd highly encourage you to do it. I hope you found this tutorial useful. And if you have any issues, if you leave a comment below, I will try to address them. Additionally, I have this whole write-up on my website, which I will link in the description below. And it also has some troubleshooting, which you might encounter. So it's kind of it can be at times a weird installation, but I feel like I've worked through a lot of the kinks and I've included them on my website, so you can check that out there. And of course, if you like this, please hit like. And if you want to see more of this, hit subscribe. And yeah, music is for everyone, and I highly encourage you to do this. It feels so cool to come up with your own weird effects, even if they aren't great, even if they completely suck. It's super amazing to build your own stuff and to use it and to just explore. And if anything, it makes you really appreciate all the existing hardware and software we have. Have a great day, and go out there and make some music. Cool.